Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your daily Tesla report for Monday, November 18th, 2024. Let's take a look at the charts. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit to kind of recap last week. Monday, we gapped above that 337.88 on nearly two-year channel top. It actually held the low of the day, but on Tuesday, we fell away back below to settle below the channel structure. We also settled below the low of the high. We closed a gap that had played out from the previous Friday. And so that was our sign of weakness. You know, there's an old adage I've used for many years that if a market rejects a longer term buy signal, which this was for about 24 hours, if it rejects that, that is in itself a valid sign of weakness. And if it is a long-term line study that's violated, it has longer-term consequences. And by longer-term, I'm still anticipating this 274.97 to 283.68 area as a viable 2 to 3 week downside objective. Now, of course, we're going to have little levels inside of here. And, I can jump to that actually right now. Of course, on the way down, we've got 299.29. And I could have a horizontal line here coming across to show this by right about here on the chart certainly can contain daily selling pressures. And just might contain weekly selling pressures. That is a possibility. But when you put it all together, the rejection of that buy signal, the fact that this market is weak, in my opinion, because of it, near term only. By near term for me is 2 to 3 weeks. You've got short term, a near term, mid-term, long term, and I have different time horizons for each of those labels. So near term, 2 to 3 weeks, I still think 274.97 to 283.68 in reach. If we were to close today or any day this week below 299.29, I think we're just a few days away then from reaching our objective at 274.97 to 283.68. 283.68 is a former rising 2 to 3 month rising channel top, and we also have a newly formed rising 1/3 speed line that is based in part, and based entirely from the January 23 low against this more recent high of last week. In other words, the January low against the recent high from last week, if you take the 1/3 pullback, 0.333, a 33% pullback to the downside, that actually is right here on that red line in the time frame in which the high was actually placed. So you're basically drawing a trend line from the low to the 1/3 pullback point in the time frame in which the high was made. It's as simple as that, and then it continues to rise through time, a trend-defining element, able to absorb selling. I have it as a weekly support area. I should probably bump it up to multi-week, truth be told. I do see this area as being able to contain not only weekly, but possibly selling pressures through December. And from here, within 2 to 3, 3 to 5 weeks, we can rotate back into the 330s and climbing over that time frame. That is kind of our big picture, really through the rest of the year. On the way up today, of course, we have what do we have here? Hold on a second. Yes, we have this 323.12. Now, this former channel top goes back even further. This is like a 6-month channel structure off that April low. And it can continue to contain intraday, possibly daily buying pressures. But in terms of shifting momentum to the upside, reversing momentum short term into mid to later week, I really think that comes simply down to a blown up daily chart that I can show right here. A simple descending channel structure that today is at 326.29. So, we can push through 323.12 today and tag 326.29 and then fall away. If we close above 326.29, I do see the 337, 337.88, 337.33 area in reach tomorrow. In fact, it could be today. If the market opens higher, if we open above 326.29, your 337 level is right about here on the chart. So it really isn't a stretch. If we push through not only 323.29, but as I say, 326.29, our 337 handle, significant overhead resistance in reach on an intraday basis. 337.88 on the daily chart, is 337.37 on the weekly chart. And once again, it really is a weekly settlement above 337.37 by a full 1% margin. At the end of this week on Friday, that would be 340.75 or higher. That would set up a long-term buy signal. So rather than anticipating bearish rotation, as we have been, as we still are, into the mid 370s to low 380s, we would then, if we were to close the week Friday at 340.75 or higher, anticipate the 414.49 November 21 high. Depending on volatility, this could be a 2 to 3, 3 to 5 week move. It could also be the better part of 2 months. If volatility begins to contract, and it probably will. But I do think if we close at 340.75 or higher, our initial longer-term objective, 414.49, and our ultimate long-term objective is 499.93. This could be within 3 to 5 months. This could also spill into the second half of next year, depending, of course, on whether we top out at 414.49 and form a double top that could play out for a month or longer as we then presumably potentially fall back to this more significant 337.37 channel structure. Continued weekly settlements then above 337.37 will keep this line study as our base of support to buy into on subsequent downside retracement, and then anticipating bullish rotation ultimately to 499.93. So that is the big picture to the upside. We're just not there yet. I don't know if we'll be anytime soon, but I do think that if we close today above 326.29, you can at least anticipate another test of the 337.37 channel structure. And we'll just take it day by day at that point in time. Downside, is there anything else for me to say? You know, we've got these levels, 323.12, I've reduced to a minor point only in deference really to, we can push through 323.12, and I think we actually did push through this structure on Friday just a bit and fell away. So it has that sort of elasticity up to 326.29. But it is the pushing through 326.29, I think, that has 337.37 in reach on an intraday basis. Until then, 326.29 is a level you can short sell, day traders, and possibly even into later week, as the market still remains heavy overall below 323.12. Downside, I've got 311.18. Now you can see the low that was put out last Friday of 309.22. I have that as a minor point, but I think you can round up just a little bit. The low settlement price that was put out on Thursday is 311.18, and I think that is our downward pivot point, 299.29. That is right here on the chart. Not a stretch of the imagination to anticipate that as an intraday target if we break 311.18. Your 299.29 level is once again nothing more than the July 23 high, where we could actually bottom out on a daily, potentially weekly basis. But I really think if you're short the market right now, and you have been since the settlement last Tuesday below the 337.88 formation, you can hold out for the mid 270s to low 280s. That doesn't mean you don't take some profits, perhaps at 299.29, but I do think this area in reach where we could bottom out through December trade. I have it as a weekly level, probably will bump it up at some point soon. Is there anything else to say? I don't really map out today. Well, here's one. I'll show you this. If we happen to close below 274.97 over the next few weeks, let's say, there is this newly formed rising channel bottom that takes into account the last, 6 months or so of activity, I think would be our next target. This would probably be within another 2 to 3 weeks, 231.59, so forth and so on. I don't see a long-term downside likelihood. I do think that this 274.97 to 283.68 area is a base of support that actually could hold well into the first quarter. But in terms of maintaining then bullish momentum on a multi-week, multi-month basis, that would come then. And that would be followed up then by a settlement, of course, above the 337.37 channel top. So I think one way to play this, if you're really bullish Tesla and you're not in the market, let's say right now, or let's say that you're overall bullish, but short term, near term, you are short the market following last week's settlement below 337.88 last Tuesday. You can go long in the mid 270s, low 280s, and then take some profits, maybe all profits in the upper 330s. And then if we then follow up with a settlement above 337.37 at the end of a week, then you're back in the saddle again on the long side for the long haul. The next stop, 414.49 within 1 to 3 months, depending on volatility, and ultimately 499.93 within 3 to 5 months, possibly could spill into later 25. I'm pushing 10 minutes. Please click like, share, subscribe. Check out wickedstocks.com. Take advantage of our 5-day free trial. I'll be back tomorrow with Tuesday's Tessa. You have a great evening.